They all laughed when I walked into my own housewarming party, the one they thought belonged to my cousin. But what none of them knew was that the papers in my bag said otherwise. I was the new landlord. Before I tell you what happened that night, hit the subscribe, like, and share buttons. Because trust me, you'll want to see how this story ends. That evening, my family had gathered in front of the duplex they said our cousin Ethan had bought. There were fairy lights, loud music, and everyone was dressed like it was some royal celebration. My mom greeted everyone with pride, saying, "My nephew is so responsible. Unlike my daughter Elsie, she could never manage something this big." Her words stung, but I just smiled and stayed quiet. No one knew I had been silently paying the mortgage on this house for 2 years, every payment made under my company's name. Ethan, my spoiled cousin who never worked a day in his life, stood in the center, acting like a king. "Elsie," he said loudly so everyone could hear, "don't break anything, okay? This isn't one of your tiny rentals." Everyone laughed. My uncle joined in. "She can't even keep a job. How would she own property?" I kept my eyes down, pretending not to care, even as my heart burned with every word. They served food and gave toasts, talking about how the men in the family always handled things, while women like me were too emotional for business. I clenched my jaw but didn't respond, because the deed they were mocking me over was lying in my purse, ready to change everything. When the speeches ended, my aunt turned to me and said, "Elsie, since you're so jobless these days, maybe Ethan can let you rent one of the rooms upstairs." That's when I looked her straight in the eye and said calmly, "Actually, that might be difficult. I don't rent to family anymore." Everyone froze. The room fell silent for a moment, then burst into laughter again. They thought I was joking. Ethan smirked. "Yeah, right, and I'm the president." But I didn't blink. I slowly reached into my purse, pulled out the ownership file, and placed it on the table. "That's strange," I said softly. "Because according to this, I'm the one collecting rent from you starting next month." Gasps, confusion, and the look on my mother's face? Priceless. Ethan's smirk vanished the moment he saw the documents. His hand twitched as he grabbed the file, flipping through the pages like a madman. His face went pale. The deed, the signatures, and everything was real. My name was printed clearly in bold. Owner, Elsie Carter. My uncle stuttered, This must be some kind of mistake." I smiled. "It's not. I've been paying off this property for the last 2 years, the same house Ethan claimed he bought." My mother's expression shifted from disbelief to anger. "You're lying, Elsie. You don't have that kind of money." I let out a quiet laugh. "You're right, Mom. I didn't. Not back when I asked for help and you said I was a disappointment. But I worked, saved, and invested. The company you all thought failed? It didn't. It grew. You could have heard a pin drop." The guests stood frozen, trying to piece together what was happening. Ethan's fiancée excused herself quietly, embarrassed beyond words. My aunt whispered something about disrespect, but I didn't even look at her. Then Ethan snapped, "You planned this. You stole this from me. You tricked everyone." "Tricked?" I said, stepping closer. "You mean how you told the family you were buying a duplex with your new job, the one I helped you get, but you used my loan documents to apply for ownership." The crowd began murmuring. Everyone remembered the time Ethan borrowed papers from me, saying they were just for reference. He never returned them. My mother shouted, "Enough, Elsie! You're humiliating us!" I turned to her calmly. "No, Mom. You all humiliated me years ago. When you called me worthless. When you sided with Ethan every single time. And when you said I'd never make it on my own. Tonight I'm not humiliating anyone. I'm just telling the truth." Ethan lunged forward as if to grab the papers, but I stepped back and raised my voice. "Touch that file, and I'll call the police. You remember, forgery is still a crime." Silence again. Every pair of eyes was on me now. I straightened my shoulders and smiled at everyone. "Enjoy the food, everyone. But as of tonight, this isn't Ethan's party anymore. It's mine." The crowd slowly began to disperse. Some avoided eye contact. Others came to shake my hand quietly. My mother stood in the corner, tears welling up, but she said nothing. Ethan stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I took a deep breath, finally feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. But just as I turned to leave, I heard a voice behind me. "Elsie, you don't know the full story. It was my father." I froze. My father hadn't said a single word all evening, just stood quietly in the corner, watching everything unfold like a stranger at his own family's downfall. But when he finally spoke, his tone wasn't angry. It was tired, heavy. He gestured toward the empty chairs, and I sat down across from him. The guests had all left by now. The house was silent, except for the faint hum of the lights and the muffled sobs of my mother somewhere upstairs. "Elsie," he said slowly, "you did nothing wrong. You earned everything you have. But there's something you need to know about this house, about why Ethan thought it was his." I frowned. "What do you mean?" He sighed and rubbed his forehead. "A few years ago, when you left home, Ethan got into deep trouble. Gambling debts, bad friends, you name it. Your mother came to me crying, saying we had to save him, or the collectors would destroy our family's name. So I took a loan, against the family land," my breath caught. "What?" He nodded. "I signed the loan papers using your company's reference, the same documents Ethan later got his hands on. Your mother told him to tell everyone he bought the duplex, to make him look responsible. She didn't know you were the one making the payments." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So all this time you both knew?" He looked down, ashamed. "I found out later, after you'd already started paying. When I saw how hard you were working, I couldn't bring myself to tell you the truth. You saved this family without even knowing it." Anger and heartbreak twisted inside me. "You let them treat me like I was nothing, when I was the one holding everything together?" He didn't defend himself, just nodded slowly, tears forming in his eyes. "I failed you, Elsie. I thought protecting Ethan would fix our mistakes. But it only broke the one child who never asked for anything." I stood up, every word he said cutting deeper. "You didn't just fail me, Dad. You made me think I wasn't worth standing up for." He reached out, but I stepped back. "I'm not angry anymore," I said quietly. "But I'm done being the one who fixes everything while everyone else gets the credit." I walked to the door, turned back one last time and said, "Tell Mom she doesn't have to worry about Ethan's debts anymore. I'll pay off the land loan, but after that I'm done. No more rent-free love. No more pretending." And with that I left the house, my house, locking the door behind me. For the first time, it truly felt like mine. The air outside was cold, sharp, but it felt cleaner than it had in years. I stood on the porch for a long time, staring at the house glowing behind me, hearing the faint echo of my family's voices fading into silence. For years, I had chased their approval. Every achievement, every late night, every dollar I saved, all of it had been for them to finally look at me and say, "We're proud of you." But that night, standing alone under the porch light, I realized something. I didn't need it anymore. I walked down the path, heels clicking on the stone, each step lighter than the last. My phone buzzed, dozens of missed calls and messages from relatives. Some wanted to talk, others called me selfish. A few, just a few, said they were proud of what I did. I didn't reply to any of them. By the time I reached my car, I caught my reflection in the window. Calm, steady, almost unrecognizable. The girl who once begged for a seat at her family's table didn't exist anymore. The woman staring back at me had built her own. A few days later, word spread fast. Ethan tried to save face, telling everyone I had cheated him out of the property. But it didn't work. The documents, the bank statements, the loan trail. Everything was in my name. Slowly, one by one, the same people who laughed at me started calling, trying to reconnect. Even my mother, she sent a message. "Elsie, maybe we can talk? Your father told me everything. I'm sorry." I stared at the message for a long time. Maybe one day I'd forgive her. Maybe not. But for now, peace meant distance. I moved into the duplex the next week, not out of pride, but closure. I furnished it with things I loved, painted the walls the way I wanted, and filled the rooms with silence that didn't hurt anymore. Every evening, I'd sit on the balcony, watching the sunset hit the windows, thinking about how everything had come full circle. My family thought they broke me, but all they really did and was teach me how to stand on my own.